Okay, I calmed down a little bit. Let's talk about harm reduction voting. If you have been in any sort of left leaning political space online, then you probably have gotten wrapped up in the conversations around a very short clip of Hassan Piker saying that he would vote third party in an election if the general came down to Gavin Newsom and JD Vance. And boy, did people have opinions about that. Now, no shade to having an opinion. I certainly did. You can check out all my videos where I shared it very directly from a few days ago. But at some point, we probably should look at this conversation a little bit closer in a little bit of a calmer tone. The concept of harm reduction voting is often applied to the idea that we need to vote for whichever party seems to be a nicer overlord compared to the other party, namely the Democrats, in every single election, no matter who it is, right? Vote blue, no matter who. Now, let me say up front that there is some good rationale here for doing that. It makes sense to try and avoid the worst of the worst by putting in just not as worse of a worse, if that makes sense. It can be the good, smart thing for any one person to do in any one election. We need to understand that that is actually true. And that's not the thing that I have an issue with. God knows that I've done it many times in my life. What I have an issue with is the overriding culture of voting blue no matter who. The culture, the general understanding of this country that we are going to vote for even absolute monsters just to avoid what we consider to be slightly worse monsters. Or even if you consider the other monster incredibly worse, you're still voting in monsters. That is the problem that I am critiquing when I am critiquing the people who say vote blue no matter who. Because the fact is, for a good period of time in every single election, we are actually able to choose the who. When it comes to primary elections, we are able to choose the who. We are able to suggest people run. We are able to advocate for our friends, families, and community members to get out there and run in these elections. And we can be saying, hey, we support you and you will have support because guess what? Those status quo politicians that you think are going to win, that you think are going to run and get all the money and get all the attention and just skate through to the nomination, that's not going to happen because people don't support them anymore. They're not electable anymore. But they continue to be electable so long as we promise them that no matter what they do, no matter who they are, they will get our eventual votes. So, how do we square these two concepts? The idea that in practice, when you actually go to the polls, voting for your best likely option can do a lot of good, or at least undo a lot of harm. Versus the idea that if we continue to believe that that is inherently going to be true in every single election, no matter what, we are going to continue to have to choose between two terrible candidates in every single election. To which I want to put forward my suggestion of a solution. This is not the objective, obvious truth that everyone must just accept because this shit's terrifying, confusing, complex, and we would have to have a time machine with alternate universes to actually know what strategy is ultimately correct. But here is what I am suggesting. We need to stop saying vote blue no matter who as a slogan. We need to stop suggesting that our votes are not contingent on anything other than you not being Republican. We need to say from the outset, at the beginning of every election cycle, and honestly, completely ignoring election cycles, just saying this is our standard mode of living, that we have standards that our politicians must meet in order to secure our votes ever. And look, I understand that that is scary to suggest. It's scary to do. When we are stuck between a terrible Republican and a slightly less terrible Democrat, we might think we need to get everyone out there for any reason we possibly can. But I honestly think that the idea that we are pushing the concept of blue no matter who is hurting Democrats in general elections. People are spending so much time saying, yeah, I know they fucking suck, but you need to vote for them anyway. Shaming people who are never actually going to go to the polls for that reason, for no reason. Instead, we could be focusing on, hey, here are the policies that actually resonate with you. Yes, they do all of these terrible things, but let's prioritize the policies that might actually help people. You're spending all this time and energy focusing on just the concept of don't vote for Republicans, that you're missing the idea that you should actually be selling the candidate that you are trying to support. Which brings me back to the idea that the culture of vote blue no matter who is hurting your candidates, the candidates that you want to see win at every point in the election cycle. It hurts them before they even announce, it hurts them in the primaries, and it hurts them in the general election. People do not like to be told that their votes are mandatory and required, and the more you shame them into it, the less likely they are to show up. Especially when you have the ability to be prioritizing other messaging that might actually get them to feel like they identify with the movement that you want them to identify with. When you actually get to the polls, your vote is between you and whatever higher power you believe in, whether you're religious or just believe in the fact that you are part of a community that is dependent on your civic duty. If you are showing up to the polls and voting for Democrats just because they are Democrats and not Republicans, that's fine. You are allowed to do that, and I actually see no real issue in the doing of it. It is the projection that is the culture, that is the understanding that every single election must be working under, that is the problem. It is causing people to lose, and it is causing people to win who are harming us. So please, can we undo the cultural component of this required to vote, no matter your interests, no matter your personal ethics? We need to break that if we actually want to start winning.